Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Conk's Corner. Today we're going to read some Harry Potter like we've been reading every single day for about 3 months. I have been not... I tried something new there. I have never read Harry Potter before. We're doing it every single day. My name is John Voth. This is Dexter, my dog. Yes, I'm experiencing Harry Potter for the very first time. For those of you who are just tuning in for the very first time, please don't spoil anything in the chat. I got this lovely hat from Carrie. Yeah, I don't know. Today I've been packing. I've been doing a lot of things. I just was like, oh, yeah, I need this break. So I'm excited for this break. I also had some coffee, which I don't usually have. So I just feel like I have more energy than usual. I'm not a coffee drinker. I'm just not a coffee drinker. So I actually am feeling more energy than before. So I don't know why. It's too much energy for me. That's why I don't usually take coffee. Yeah. Anyway, so we stopped yesterday kind of in a cliffhanger, somewhere we went into Snape's mind, into one of the biggest memories, apparently, most traumatic memories. Something's gonna happen. They were starting to write a test. Snape was there, Harry's dad was there, and then we stopped. It's kind of a cliffhanger. I'm excited to see where this goes. First, we're going to draw this on. I don't know if you'll actually see it with this hat on. Oh gosh, yeah, you probably can't even see it. I'm about to stab myself in the eye with this. You're naturally energetic without coffee? Magic. I don't think his coffee is legal. Yeah, I'm just doing straight up crack cocaine over here. All right. Where did we stop? We stopped on page 565. If you're reading along, it's page 565 in Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Kidding. It's book 5. All right. Let's just get into it, shall we? No preamble. No Mark to roll his eyes at me and... well, we still have I still have his gadget. He forgot to take his gadget. Anyway, let's just keep going. 2 a.m. in London, Mo Luther. Wow, that's great. You're staying up for this. It's amazing. Thank you. Okay, here we go. Oh no, this is already where he was with Harry's dad. I'm on it. I honestly have too much energy right now. It's so weird. I've got too much energy. James yawned hugely and rumpled up his hair, making it even messier than it had been. Then, with a glance towards Professor Flitwick, he turned in his seat and grinned at a boy sitting 4 seats behind him. With another shock of excitement, Harry saw Sirius give James the thumbs up. Sirius was lounging in his chair, at his ease, tilting it back on 2 legs. Okay, we're gonna see young Sirius. I guess I'll have to find a voice for all these young characters now. You can't have the same voice. He'll have to have somewhat different voice before he got to that point. His dark hair fell into his eyes with a sort of casual elegance neither James nor Harry's could ever have achieved. It was a bit too loud. Okay, I'm going to restart that so it's quieter. And a girl sitting behind him was eyeing him, hopefully, though he didn't seem to have noticed. And 2 seats along from this girl, Harry's stomach gave another pleasurable squirm. Was Remus Lupin. He's going to have a voice too. My gosh. He looked rather pale and peaky. Was the full moon approaching? There we go. And was absorbed in his exam. As he reread his answers, he scratched his chin with the end of his quill, frowning slightly. So that meant Wormtail had to be around here somewhere too. And sure enough, Harry spotted him within seconds. A small, mousy-haired boy with a pointy nose. Okay, mousy-haired. What's mousy-haired? What kind of haircut does a mouse have? With a pointed nose. Wormtail looked anxious. He was chewing his fingernails, staring down at his paper, scuffing the ground with his toes. Every now and then, he farted. Every now and then, he glanced hopefully at his neighbor's paper. Harry stared at Wormtail for a moment, then back at James, who was now doodling on a bit of scrap parchment. He had drawn a snitch and was now tracing the letters L-E. What did they stand for?
"Quills down, please,"
squeaked Professor Flitwick.
"That means you too, Stebbins.
Please remain seated while I collect your parchment. Accio! Or accio. Just means light, dusty brown. Gotcha. Mousy is the color. Oh, gotcha. Sirius is more aristocratic and posh. Young Sirius sounds like a kid president from those YouTube videos. J.K. Rowling mentioned it in an interview. I don't believe you, Nathan. I do not believe you. I do not believe you. James and Sirius kind of jockeying cool, slightly full of themselves. Lupin quiet, Peter timid. I hope you're describing it not from the movies, but from the books, because I'm not going after the movies. Over 100 rolls of parchment zoomed into the air and into Professor Flitwick's outstretched arms, knocking him backwards off his feet. Several people laughed. A couple of students at the front desks got up, took hold of Professor Flitwick beneath the elbows, and lifted him back onto his feet. Thank you, panted Professor Flitwick. Very well, everybody, you're free to go. Harry looked down at his father, who had hastily crossed out the L-E he had been embellishing. Jumped to his feet, stuffed his quill and the exam paper into his bag, which he slung over his back, and stood waiting for Sirius to join him. Harry looked around and glimpsed Snape a short way away, moving between the tables towards the doors to the entrance hall, still absorbed in his own exam paper. Round-shouldered yet angular, he walked in a twitchy manner that recalled a spider. This is a super weird kid. We're done with the test. And his oily hair was jumping about his face. A gang of chattering girls separated Snape from James, Sirius, and Lupin, and by planting himself in their midst, Harry managed to keep Snape in sight, while straining his ears to catch the voices of James and his friends. Okay, so Sirius talks like this when he's an adult, so maybe he'll just talk like this as a teenager. Yeah, let's try that. Let's see how that works. Did you like question 10, Mooney? Asked Sirius as they emerged into the entrance hall. Okay, Lupin. So Lupin as an adult has loved it. Yes, he's talking like this. So maybe as a teenager he sounds a bit softy and romancy. There we go. Loved it, said Lupin briskly. Give 5 signs that identify the werewolf. Excellent question. James now. Okay, James is more also a cool kid. Just regular like Harry. Because Harry takes after him all the ways. It was basically as Harry's voice. Yeah, James is self-assured, not as posh as Sirius. Just trying to help a brother out. Such a shame. Snape is that teenager. Thank you for calling our support. Okay, I'm just going to give James the same voice as Harry. Do you think you managed to get all the signs? Said James in tones of mock concern. Think I did, said Lupin seriously, as they joined the crowd thronging around the front doors, eager to get out into the sunlit grounds. 1, he's sitting on my chair. 2, he's wearing my clothes. 3, his name's Remus Lupin. Wormtail was the only one who didn't laugh. Oh yeah, Wormtail, the slimy old guy, right? His voice was like this. Yeah, right. So he's just younger and he's not as grovelly yet, right? So I got the snout shape, the pupils of the eyes, and the tufted tail, he said anxiously, but I couldn't think what else. How thick are you, Wormtail? Said James impatiently. You run round with a werewolf once a month. Wait, who said this? James. Okay, now it's Lupin. Keep your voice down, implored Lupin. Harry looked anxiously behind him again. Anybody remember that song with J-Lo and Ja Rule? And the song starts with, "What's my name?" And she goes, "Rule." Always thought it was a question, R-U-L-E. I don't know what this has to do. I should just sometimes avoid the chat. There's nothing to... Yes, smashing these voices out of the park. Thank you, Jenny. I really like the teenagers' voices. Good. Good. How are we? Oh, yeah. Harry looked anxiously behind him again. Snape remained close by, still buried in his exam questions. But this was Snape's memory, and Harry was sure that if Snape chose to wander off in a different direction once outside in the grounds, Harry, would not be able to follow James any further. To his intense relief, however, When James and his 3 friends strode off down the lawn towards the lake, Snape followed, still poring over the exam paper and apparently with no fixed idea of where he was going. By keeping a little ahead of him, Harry managed to maintain a close watch on James and the others.
"Well, I just thought the paper was a piece of cake,"
he heard Sirius say.
"I'll be surprised if I don't get outstanding on it at least."
Me too," said James. He put his hand in his pocket and took out a struggling golden snitch.
"Where'd you get that?"
"Nicked it," said James casually. He started playing with the snitch, allowing it to fly as much as a foot away before seizing it again. His reflexes were excellent. Wormtail watched him in awe. They stopped in the shade of the very same beech tree on the edge of the lake where Harry, Ron, and Hermione had once spent a Sunday finishing their homework, and threw themselves down on the grass. Harry looked over his shoulder yet again and saw, to his delight, that Snape had settled himself on the grass in the dense shadow of a clump of bushes. John clearly doesn't know the song. I do know the song. I do, actually. He was as deeply immersed in the owl paper as ever, which left Harry free to sit down on the grass between the beech and the bushes, and watch the foursome under the tree. Gross. The sunlight was dazzling on the smooth surface of the lake, on the bank of which the group of laughing girls who had just left the great hall were sitting, with their shoes and socks off, cooling their feet in the water. Lupin had pulled out a book and was reading. Sirius stared around at the students milling over the grass, looking rather haughty and bored, but very handsomely so. James was still playing with the snitch, letting it zoom further and further away, almost escaping, but always grabbed it at the last second. Wormtail was watching him with his mouth open. Every time James made a particularly difficult catch, Wormtail gasped and applauded. After 5 minutes of this, Harry wondered why James didn't tell Wormtail to get a grip on himself, but James seemed to be enjoying the attention. Harry noticed that his father had a habit of rumpling up his hair as though to keep it from getting too tidy, and he also kept looking over at the girls by the water's edge.
Put that away, will you?
Oh yeah, Sirius.
Put that away, will you?
Said Sirius finally, as James made a fine catch, and Wormtail let out a cheer.
For Wormtail wets himself with excitement.
Wormtail turned slightly pink, but James grinned. If it bothers you, he said, stuffing the snitch back into his pocket. Harry had the distinct impression that Sirius was the only one for whom James would have stopped showing off.
I'm bored, said Sirius. Wish it was full moon.
You might, said Lupin darkly from behind his book.
We've still got Transfiguration. If you're bored, you could test me. Here.
And he held out his book, but Sirius snorted.
I don't need to look at that rubbish. I know it all.
This'll liven you up, Padfoot, said James quietly. Look who it is. Sirius's head turned. He became very still, like a dog that had scented a rabbit.
Excellent, he said softly. Snivelous.
Harry turned to see what Sirius was looking at. Snape was on his feet again, and was stowing the owl paper in his bag. As he left the shadow of the bushes and set off across the grass, Sirius and James stood up. Lupin and Wormtail remained sitting. Lupin was still staring down at his book, though his eyes were not moving, and a faint frown line had appeared between his eyebrows. Wormtail was looking from Sirius and James to Snape with a look of avid anticipation on his face. Watching from Bangladesh, you are doing great. Thank you, Mahir. I'm glad you're joining from Bangladesh. That's wicked. Awesome. Lupin and Wormtail remained sitting. Oh yeah. All right, Snivelus, said James loudly. They're being mean. They're being little bullies. That's not fun. That's not great for James. Not a great look for Harry's dad. Snape reacted so fast, it was as though he had been expecting an attack. Dropping his bag, he plunged his hand inside his robes, and his wand was halfway into the air when James shouted, Expelliarmus! Snape's wand flew 12 feet into the air and fell with a little thud in the grass behind him. Sirius let out a bark of laughter.
Impedimenta!
he said, pointing his wand at Snape, who was knocked off his feet halfway through a dive towards his own fallen wand. Why did they be such douchebags to him? Students all around had turned to watch. Some of them had got to their feet and were edging nearer. Some looked apprehensive, others entertained. Snape lay panting on the ground. James and Sirius advanced on him, wands raised, James glancing over his shoulder at the girls at the water's edge as he went. Wormtail was on his feet now, watching hungrily, edging around Lupin to get a clearer view. How'd the exam go, Snively? Said James. He's almost like Draco. Ooh.
I was watching him. His nose was touching the parchment, said Sirius viciously. There'll be great grease marks all over it. They won't be able to read a word.
Several people watching laughed. Ugh. Snape was clearly unpopular. Wormtail sniggered shrilly. Snape was trying to get up, but the jinx was still operating on him. He was struggling, as though bound by invisible ropes. Okay, young Snape. When he's old, he talks like this. So maybe when he's young, he'll... You wait, he panted, staring up at James with an expression of purest loathing. You wait! It's not great. Not a good look. Not a good look.
Wait for what? Said Sirius coolly. What are you going to do, Snively? Wipe your nose on us?
Snape let out a stream of mixed swear words and hexes, but, with his wand 10 feet away, nothing happened. Wash out your mouth, said James coldly. Scourgify! Pink soap bubbles streamed from Snape's mouth at once. The froth was covering his lips, making him gag, choking him. Leave him alone! James and Sirius looked around. James' free hand immediately jumped to his hair. It was one of the girls from the lake edge. She had thick, dark red hair that fell to her shoulders, and startlingly green, almond-shaped eyes. Harry's eyes. Harry's mother. Oh, and this is how it happens. Harry's mother changes James into a good dude, or something like that. Hurt people hurt people. What time is it? 13s, and that's all I can say without spoiling anything. You're doing an awesome job aging down these voices, John. Thank you, Alexandra. Oh, hi, Alex. All right, Evans, said James, and the tone of his voice was suddenly pleasant, deeper, more mature. Oh, he's trying to show off. Okay. Leave him alone, Lily repeated. She was looking at James with every sign of great dislike. What's he done to you? Well, said James, appearing to deliberate the point. It's more the fact that he exists, if you know what I mean. What? What's happening? Why is Harry's dad such a crappy dude? He's a really crappy dude. Many of the surrounding students laughed, Sirius and Wormtail included, but Lupin, still apparently intent on his book, didn't, nor did Lily. You think you're funny, she said coldly, but you're just an arrogant, bullying toe-rag, Potter. Leave him alone. I will if you go out with me, Evans, said James quickly. Go on. Go out with me, and I'll never lay a wand on old Snively again. Whoa, dude! Behind him, the impediment jinx was wearing off. Snape was beginning to inch towards his fallen wand, spitting out soap suds as he crawled. I wouldn't go out with you if it was a choice between you and the giant squid, said Lily. Bad luck, Prongs, said Sirius briskly, and turned back to Snape. Oi! But too late. Snape had directed his wand straight at James. There was a flash of light, and a gash appeared on the side of James' face, spattering his robes with blood. Woo-wee! James whirled around. A second flash of light later, Snape was hanging upside down in the air, his robes falling over his head to reveal skinny, pallid legs and a pair of graying underpants. Oh my gosh, this is like the worst. This is the worst. This is worse than Draco right now. For sure. Many people in a small crowd cheered. I'll ask for direction on voices if I need it. All right? I'm discovering as I go on. So if I want direction on voices, I'll ask for it. Many people in the small crowd cheered. Sirius, James, and Wormtail roared with laughter. Lily, whose furious expression had twitched for an instant as though she was going to smile, said, "Let him down." "Certainly," said James, and he jerked his wand upwards. Snape fell into a crumpled heap on the ground. Disentangling himself from his robes, he quickly got to his feet, wand up, but Sirius said, Petrificus totalis, and Snape keeled over again, rigid as a board. "Leave him alone!" Lily shouted. She had her own wand out now. James and Sirius eyed it warily. "Ah, Evans, don't make me hex you," said James earnestly. "Take the curse off him, then." James sighed deeply, then turned to Snape and muttered the counter-curse. "There you go," he said, as Snape struggled to his feet. "You're lucky Evans was here, Snivellus." "I don't need help from filthy little mudbloods like her." Lily blinked. "Fine," she said coolly. "I won't bother in the future. And I'd wash your pants if I were you, Snivellus." "Apologize to Evans!" James roared at Snape, his wand pointed threateningly at him. "I don't want you to make him apologize!" Lily shouted, rounding on James. "You're as bad as he is." "What?" yelled James. "I'd never call you a you-know-what." Messing up your hair because you think it looks cool to look like you've just got off your broomstick, showing off with that stupid snitch, walking down corridors and hexing anyone who annoys you just because you can. I'm surprised your broomstick can get off the ground with that fat head on it. You make me sick." She turned on her heel and hurried away. "Evans!" James shouted after her. "Hey, Evans!" But she didn't look back. "What is it with her?" said James, trying and failing to look, as though this was a throwaway question of no real importance to him. James is the crappiest of dudes. Yeah.
"Reading between the lines, I'd say she thinks you're a bit conceited, mate,"
said Sirius. "Right," said James, who looked furious now. "Right." There was another flash of light, and Snape was once again hanging upside down in the air. "Come on! Who wants to see me take off Snively's pants?" But whether James really did take off Snape's pants, Harry never found out. A hand had closed tight over his upper arm, closed with a pincer-like grip. Wincing, Harry looked round to see what had hold of him, and saw, with a thrill of horror, a fully grown, adult-sized Snape standing right beside him, white with rage. "Having fun." Harry felt himself rising into the air. The summer's day evaporated around him. He was floating upwards through icy blackness, Snape's hand still tight upon his upper arm. Then, with a swooping feeling as though he had turned head over heels in midair, his feet hit the stone floor of Snape's dungeon, and he was standing again beside the pensieve on Snape's desk in the shadowy present-day potion master study. "So," said Snape, gripping Harry's arm so tightly, Harry's hand was starting to feel numb. "So, been enjoying yourself, Potter?" "No," said Harry, trying to free his arm. It was scary. Snape's lips were shaking. His face was white. His teeth were bared. "Amusing man, your father, wasn't he?" said Snape, shaking Harry so hard his glasses slipped down his nose. "I didn't—" Snape threw Harry from him with all his might. Harry fell hard onto the dungeon floor. "You will not repeat what you saw to anybody!" Snape bellowed. "No," said Harry, getting to his feet as far from Snape as he could. "No, of course, I would—" "Get out! Get out! I don't want to see you in this office ever again!" And as Harry hurtled towards the door, A jar of dead cockroaches exploded over his head. He wrenched the door open and flew along the corridor, stopping only when he had put 3 floors between himself and Snape. There he leaned against the wall, panting and rubbing his bruised arm. He had no desire at all to return to Gryffindor Tower so early, nor to tell Ron and Hermione what he had just seen. What was making Harry feel so horrified and unhappy was not being shouted at or having jars thrown at him. It was that he knew how it felt to be humiliated in the middle of a circle of onlookers, knew exactly how Snape had felt as his father had taunted him, and that judging from what he had just seen, his father had been every bit as arrogant as Snape had always told him. End of chapter. Man, what a revelation about Harry's father. That is crappy. I mean, kind of get why Snape hates Harry. Kind of get it. I mean, it's still not great. I mean, you're hating a kid who's never done anything, right? But you know, it's understandable how that, you know, he couldn't hate his father. He hated his father, and then his father died, and his son's all of a sudden the most popular kid in school, and he can get back at him now, right? This deep-seated hurt. And James, Harry's dad, being a real crook? Man, that sucks. It was indeed a very sad memory for Snape, and for Harry as well. Yes, indeed. Yeah. Does this mean Lily digs bad boys? Nathan, once again. Nathan doesn't get teen girls. Snape calling Lily a mudblood, kind of ruthless. She was just trying to help. But he's also embarrassed, right? And, you know, teenage boys don't want help from girls. No help from girls. You know, that's how it is. John Voth is not wearing his glasses. How did I not notice this sooner? I was wearing it. I just took it off in between the chapter here. I was wearing it the entire time. So, let's keep going. The next chapter is chapter 29. We are getting, I think we're like in the last quarter of the book here. We're last quarter, getting towards the final stretch of this book. It's so crazy how far we've come. My gosh. We were just, it seems like yesterday, we were just in 12th grade, and we were just at prom and just laughing about everything. And now, look at us. We're all married with kids. And I know when we're 70 years old, we're going to be laughing, and our kids are going to be I'm going to have kids who are also in prom, and I just want you all to know that I love you all so much. Like Girl Squad forever! Okay, chapter 29. Careers advice. Careers advice. Careers advice. I'm just going to read like this from now on. I'm going to read it like this. It's supernatural, relaxed position. I feel very relaxed right now. Super relaxed. We should start awarding John points for things. No, sounds like a lot of effort. Alright, careers advice. But why haven't you got occlumency lessons anymore? Said Hermione, frowning. I've told you, Harry muttered. Snape reckons I can carry on by myself now I've got the basics. So, you've stopped having funny dreams? Said Hermione skeptically. Pretty much, said Harry, not looking at her. Oh, wait a second. Let's change it. Where are we? Okay. Well, I don't think Snape should stop until you're absolutely sure you can control them, said Hermione indignantly. Harry, I think you should go back to him and ask. No, said Harry forcefully. Just drop it, Hermione, okay? It was the first day of the Easter holidays, and Hermione, as was her custom, had spent a large part of the day drawing up revision timetables for the 3 of them. Harry and Ron had let her do it. It was easier than arguing with her, and, in any case, they might come in useful. Ron had been startled to discover there were only 6 weeks left until their exams. How can that come as a shock Hermione demanded, as she tapped each little square on Ron's timetable with her wand, so that it flashed a different color according to its subject. I don't know, said Roy. There's been a lot going on. Well, there you are, she said, handing him his timetable. If you follow that, you should do fine. Ron looked down it gloomily, but then brightened. You've given me an evening off every week! That's for Quidditch practice, said Hermione. She's doing his timetable? Like, what? They're squabbling, she's doing his timetable. It just feels like they're married. Well, they're gonna, at some point in these next books, they're gonna at least make out or something. I don't know. That's gonna happen. The smile faded from Ron's face. Ugh, what's the point? He said dully. We've got about as much chance of winning this Quidditch Cup this year as Dad's got of becoming Minister for Magic. Hermione said nothing. She was looking at Harry, who was staring blankly at the opposite wall of the common room, while Crookshanks pawed at his hand, trying to get his ears scratched. What's wrong, Harry? What? He said quickly. Nothing. He seized his copy of Defensive Magical Theory and pretended to be looking something up in the index. Crookshanks gave him up as a bad job and slunk away under Hermione's chair. I saw Cho earlier, said Hermione tentatively. She looked really miserable too. Have you two had a row again? What? Oh, yeah, we have, said Harry, seizing gratefully on the excuse. What's about? That sneak friend of hers, Marietta, said Harry. Yeah, well, I don't... sorry. Yeah, well, I don't blame you, said Ron angrily, setting down his revision timetable. If it hadn't been for her... Ron went into a rant about Marietta Edgecombe, which Harry found helpful. All he had to do was look angry, nod, and say, yeah, that's right, whenever Ron drew a breath, leaving his mind free to dwell even more miserably on what he had seen in the Pensieve. He felt as though the memory of it was eating him up from the inside. He had been so sure his parents were wonderful people. They had never had the slightest difficulty in disbelieving the aspersions Snape cast on his father's character. Hadn't people like Hagrid and Sirius told Harry how wonderful his father had been? Yeah, well, look what Sirius was like himself, said a nagging voice inside Harry's head. He was as bad, wasn't he? Yes. He had once overheard Professor McGonagall saying that his father and Sirius had been troublemakers at school, but she had described them as forerunners of the Weasley twins, and Harry could not imagine Fred and George dangling somebody upside down for the fun of it, not unless they really loathed them, perhaps Malfoy or somebody who really deserved it. It is a premonition. It's time for John's premonition. What? I don't remember what the premonition was. Sorry, I forgot! Harry tried to make a case for Snape having deserved what he had suffered at James' hand. But hadn't Lily asked, "What's he done to you?" And hadn't James replied, "It's more the fact that he exists, if you know what I mean." Hadn't James started it all simply because Sirius had said he was bored? Harry remembered Lupin saying back in Grimmauld Place that Dumbledore had made him prefect in the hope that he would be able to exercise some control over James and Sirius. But in the Pensieve, he had sat there and let it all happen. Harry kept reminding himself that Lily had intervened. His mother had been decent. Yet, the memory of the look on her face as she had shouted at James disturbed him quite as much as anything else. She had clearly loathed James, and Harry simply could not understand how they could have ended up married. Once or twice he even wondered whether James had forced her into it. For nearly 5 years, the thought of his father had been a source of comfort, of inspiration. Whenever someone had told him he was like James, he had glowed with pride inside. And now he felt cold and miserable at the thought of him. The weather grew breezier, brighter and warmer as the Easter holidays passed, but Harry, along with the rest of the 5th and 7th years, was trapped inside, revising, traipsing back and forth to the library. Harry pretended his bad mood had no other cause but the approaching exams, and as his fellow Gryffindors were sick of studying themselves, his excuse went unchallenged. Oh, right, about Roy and Hermione. Right, I guess that is a premonition. They'll make out. That was the premonition. The weather grew... Oh, wait. Who's this saying? Ginny Weasley. Harry, I'm talking to you. Can you hear me? Huh? He looked around. Ginny Weasley, looking very wind-swept, had joined him at the library table, where he had been sitting alone. It was late on Sunday evening. Hermione had gone back to Gryffindor Tower to revise ancient runes, and Ron had Quidditch practice. Oh, hi, said Harry, pulling his books towards him. How come you're not at practice? It's over, said Ginny. Ron had to take Jack Sloper up to the hospital wing. Why? Well, we're not sure, but we think he knocked himself out with his own bat. Anyway, a package just arrived. It's only just got through Umbridge's new screening process. She hoisted a box wrapped in brown paper onto the table. It had clearly been unwrapped and carelessly rewrapped. There was a scribbled note across it in red ink, reading, Inspected and passed by the Hogwarts High Inquisitor. It's Easter eggs from Mum, said Ginny. There's one for you. There you go. She handed him a handsome chocolate egg.
I see you're hungry for an egg. Care to take a bite? I'm all chocolate.
She handed him a handsome chocolate egg decorated with small iced snitches, and according to the packaging, containing a bag of fizzing Whizbees. Harry looked at it for a moment, then, to his horror, felt a lump rise in his throat. Are you okay, Harry? Ginny asked quietly. Yeah, I'm fine, said Harry gruffly. The lump in his throat was painful. He did not understand why an Easter egg should have made him feel like this. You seem really down lately, Ginny persisted. You know, I'm sure if you just talked to Cho. It's not Cho I want to talk to, said Harry brusquely. Who is it then? Asked Ginny, watching him closely. He glanced around to make sure, quite sure nobody was listening. Madame Pince was several shelves away, stamping out a pile of books for a frantic-looking Hannah Abbott. Roy's got the raging Hermiones. Hey, Wes! Welcome. I wish I could talk to Sirius, he muttered, but I know I can't. Ginny continued to watch him thoughtfully, more to give himself something to do than because he really wanted any. Harry unwrapped his Easter egg, broke off a large bit, and put it into his mouth. Well, said Ginny slowly, helping herself to a bit of egg too. If you really want to talk to Sirius, I expect we could think of a way to do it. Come on, said Harry dully, with Umbridge policing the fires and reading all our mail. The thing about growing up with Fred and George, said Ginny thoughtfully, is that you sort of start thinking anything's possible, if you've got enough nerve. Ah! Harry looked at her. Perhaps it was the effect of the chocolate. Lupin had always advised eating some after encounters with Dementors, or simply because he had finally spoken aloud the wish that had been burning inside him for a week, but he felt a bit more hopeful. Somebody's yelling. Oh, that's Madame Pince. Right, she's a librarian, very... What do you think you... No, what's her voice again? Madame Pince, Madame Pince. What do you think you are doing? Oh, damn, whispered Ginny, jumping to her feet. I forgot. Madame Pince was swooping down on them, her shriveled face contorted with rage. Chocolate in the library, she screamed. Out, out, out! And whipping out her wand, she caused Harry's books, bag, and ink bottle to chase him and Ginny from the library, whacking them repeatedly over the head as they ran. Nice. Ginny is awesome. Yeah, she is awesome. Yeah. She's getting more of a character, more of descriptions throughout this book. You know, she's kind of been like the, in German we would say the Anhängsel, like the kind of like the fifth wheel or something like that, right? But she's getting a bit more and more of a character, and I'm liking what I'm seeing. What time is it? There we go. As though to underline the importance of their upcoming examinations, a batch of pamphlets, leaflets, and notices concerning various wizarding careers appeared on the tables in Gryffindor Tower shortly before the end of the holidays, along with yet another notice on the board, which read, Careers Advice. All 5th years... Well, I'll do it in Umbridge, so I'm guessing it's Umbridge.
Careers Advice. All 5th years are required to attend a short meeting with their head of house during the first weeks of the summer term to discuss their future careers. Times of any individual appointments are listed below.
I guess. Harry looked down the list and found that he was expected in Professor McGonagall's office at 2:30 on Monday, which would mean missing most of divination. He and the other 5th years spent a considerable part of the final weekend of the Easter break reading all the careers information that had been left there for their perusal. Well, I don't fancy healing, said Ron, at the last evening of the holidays. He was immersed in a leaflet that carried the crossed bone and wand emblem of St. Mungos on its front. It says here you need at least E at Newt level in potions, herbology, transfiguration, charms, and defense against the dark arts. I mean, blimey. Don't want much, do they?
Well, it's a very responsible job, isn't it? Well, it's a very responsible job, isn't it?
Said Hermione absently. She was poring over a bright pink and orange leaflet that was headed, So you think you'd like to work in Muggle relations?
You don't seem to need many qualifications to liaise with Muggles. All they want is an owl in Muggle studies. Much more important is your enthusiasm, patience, and a good sense of fun.
You'd need more than a good sense of fun to liaise with my uncle, said Harry darkly. A time to choose a life path. No pressure. Yeah. It's always so silly to me when schools make kids choose life paths. Happens in Germany, happens here, maybe, I don't know. Even university, you know, most kids, me, well, not me, I kind of knew I wanted to become an actor, but a lot of people I knew in university, it was like, just taking the basics and I guess I'll do this. They'd like waste so much money on picking a path that, and so many people changed their majors and wasted money. It's like, just let kids try, or young people try out different courses, different things before they have to pick this grand career path. What job would you want to pursue? I'm already pursuing a job, where I have over the last 10 years. Entertainment and acting! And now I'm getting into directing as well. You'd need more than that, than a good sense of fun to liaise with my uncle, said Harry darkly. Good sense of when to duck, more like. He was halfway through a pamphlet on wizard banking. Listen to this. Are you seeking a challenging career involving travel, adventure, and substantial danger-related treasure bonuses? Then consider a position with Gringotts Wizarding Bank, who are currently recruiting curse breakers for thrilling opportunities abroad. They want arithmancy, though. You could do it, Hermione. I don't much fancy banking, said Hermione vaguely, now immersed in, have you got what it takes to train security trolls? So, till now we've got, what do we have? We have, healing, Muggle relations, banking, and training security trolls. Those are the jobs I know of till now, I guess. Should I post pictures of John in shows 10 years ago on the Discord? Yes or no? Yeah. I know you have those, Lois. What kind of wizard job would you choose, John? I hope it was understandable. I'm gonna wait until I hear about more wizard jobs, and then make a choice. Hey, he said a voice in Harry's ear. He looked round. Fred and George had come to join them. Ginny's had a word with us about you, said Fred, stretching out his legs on the table in front of them and causing several booklets on careers with the Ministry of Magic to slide off onto the floor. She says you need to talk to Sirius. What? Said Hermione sharply, freezing with her hand halfway towards picking up Make a Bang at the Department of Magical Accidents and Catastrophes. Wow. Oh yeah, there's so many jobs. I mean, when we went through that building, there were like 7 different departments. I don't even know. I can't remember them all. Like, what would I do? It would have to have something to do with people, and with... It'd have to change. Would have to have a lot of variety and fun involved in it. I don't know. I can't think of all the different departments and different jobs there. Yeah, said Harry, trying to sound casual. Yeah, I thought I'd like... Don't be so ridiculous, said Hermione, straightening up and looking at him as though she could not believe her eyes. With Umbridge groping around in the fires and frisking all the owls? Well... We think we can find a way around that, said George, stretching and smiling. It's a simple matter of causing a diversion. Now, you might have noticed that we've been rather quiet on the mayhem front during the Easter holidays. What was the point? What was the point, we asked ourselves, of disrupting leisure time, continued Fred. No point at all, we answered ourselves. And of course, we'd have messed up people's revision too. Which would be the very last thing we'd want to do. John would like to be a minister. A minister?
No, thank you. No, thank you. I would not like to be a minister.
Magicians have actors? It would be great if they don't practice to change their voices or costumes. Yeah. Which would be the very last thing we'd want to do. He gave Hermione a sanctimonious little nod. She looked rather taken aback by this thoughtfulness. But it's business as usual from tomorrow, Fred continued briskly. And if we're going to be causing a bit of uproar, why not do it so that Harry can have his chat with Sirius? Yes, but still, said Hermione with an air of explaining something very simple to somebody very obtuse. Even if you do cause a diversion, how is Harry supposed to talk to him, Umbridge's office, said Harry quietly. Oh, come on, you're gonna do that? He had been thinking about it for a fortnight and could come up with no alternative. Umbridge herself had told him that the only fire that was not being watched was her own. Are you insane? Said Hermione in a hushed voice. Ron had lowered his leaflet on jobs in the cultivated fungus trade and was watching the conversation warily. I don't think so, said Harry, shrugging. And how are you going to get in there in the first place? Harry was ready for this question. Sirius's knife, he said. Excuse me? Christmas before last, Sirius gave me a knife that'll open any lock, said Harry. So even if she's bewitched the door so Alohomora won't work, which I bet she has. What do you think about this? Hermione demanded of Roy, and Harry was reminded irresistibly of Mrs. Weasley appealing to her husband during Harry's first dinner in Grimmauld Place. Ooh, a little bit of foreshadowing. A little bit of foreshadowing for sure. They teach me to make their own costumes. A lot of sequin work. I had patrons. This is perfect. Jen Collins, my favorite author. John will be working with Hagrid. Oh, I would love to work with Hagrid, actually. Actually, yes. Hagrid's job would be pretty sweet. Working with all these animals and going off and getting beat up by giants. Yeah, that'd be pretty fun. By the way, let's see how much we have left in this chapter. Oh, it's quite a bit, actually. Yeah, I won't finish this chapter. It's long chapter. But I'll keep going. Somebody's here to pick up something at 7 o'clock that Mark left behind, so I might have to end it abruptly, just so you know. I might have to end it abruptly. Oh yeah, I don't know, said Ron, looking alarmed at being asked to give an opinion. If Harry wants to do it, it's up to him, isn't it? Spoken like a true friend. No, spoken like a true friend and Weasley, said Fred, clapping Ron hard on the back. Right then, we're thinking of doing it tomorrow, just after lessons, but because it should cause maximum impact if everybody's in the corridors. Harry will set it off in the east wing somewhere, draw her right away from her own office. I reckon we should be able to guarantee you what 20 minutes? He said, looking at George. Easy, said George. What sort of diversion is it? Asked Ron. You'll see, little bro, said Fred, as he and George got up again. At least, you will if you trot along to Gregory the Smarmy's corridor round about 5 o'clock tomorrow. Harry awoke very early the next day, feeling almost as... Oh, 1 second. I need a little drink.
John's voice is dry. He needs to moisten with some water.
Harry awoke very early the next day, feeling almost as anxious as he had done on the morning of his disciplinary hearing at the Ministry of Magic. It was not only the prospect of breaking into Umbridge's office and using her fire to speak to Sirius that was making him feel nervous, though that was certainly bad enough. Today also happened to be the first time Harry would be in close proximity to Snape since Snape had thrown him out of his office. After lying in bed for a while thinking about the day ahead, Harry got up very quietly and moved across to the window beside Neville's bed and stared out on a truly glorious morning. The sky was a clear, misty, opalescent blue. Directly ahead of him, Harry could see the towering beech tree below, which his father had once tormented Snape. He was not sure what Sirius could possibly say to him that would make up for what he had seen in the Pensieve, but he was desperate to hear Sirius's own account of what had happened, to know of any mitigating factors there might have been, any excuse at all for his father's behavior. I think I breathed in some saliva or water in the wrong tube. Just choke out here on the stream. John will clearly be the divination teacher. Yes, you're completely right. I would just stand there and make the most true premonitions of all, of everybody. Something caught Harry's attention. Movement on the edge of the Forbidden Forest. Harry squinted into the sun and saw Hagrid emerging from between the trees. He seemed to be limping. As Harry watched, Hagrid staggered to the door of his cabin and disappeared inside it. Harry watched the cabin for several minutes. Hagrid did not emerge again, but smoke furled from the chimney, so Hagrid could not be so badly injured that he was unequal to stoking the fire. Ooh, wow. He, in order to get these man stags, what do you call them? the man horses, the horsemen, the steeds of males on board, he has to consistently challenge the strongest of them and conquer them in fight, and he's failing every single time, and he just goes back every day in order to try and get them on board for the upcoming fight, or training them in that regard. Yeah. Gänsefüßchen. Man stags. I like man stags better than centaurs. Just call them man stags. Harry turned away from the window, headed back to his trunk, and started to dress. With the prospect of forcing entry into Umbridge's office ahead, Harry had never expected the day to be a restful one, but he had not reckoned on Hermione's almost continual attempts to dissuade him from what he was planning to do at 5 o'clock. For the first time ever, she was at least as inattentive to Professor Binns in History of Magic as Harry and Ron were, keeping up a stream of whispered admonitions that Harry had tried very hard to ignore. And if she does catch you there, apart from being expelled, she'll be able to guess you've been talking to Snuffles, and this time I expect she'll force you to drink Veritaserum and answer her questions. Hermione, said Ron in a low and indignant voice, are you going to stop telling Harry off and listen to Binns? Or am I going to have to take my own notes? What? You take notes for a change. It won't kill you. Okay, I'm going to end there, because I know it's going to go into other things here, so we're going to end there for today. All right? I'm excited to see what happens. Yeah, this will be interesting. Umbridge is gonna catch them for sure, and they have to snake their way out of that. July 24. In order. Oh yeah. Okay. There's my premonition. There's my premonition. This premonition canceled the previous one. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay. Yeah. That's man, that was a great one with Snape's memory. That throws a lot of things on its head, especially for Harry. Once again, Rowling's really good at upturning Harry again and again and bringing new revelations, you know, making something true and then bringing a new revelation up that changes everything and making that true, bringing something up again. Yeah. Daphne, thanks, John. This is so much fun. Thanks for joining, Daphne. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Harry must really be ate up inside to risk this. And great teen voices. Thank you. Oh, Dexter's come out to join us. The little last bit. There he is. There he is. I'm just gonna put him on my shoulder like a parrot. Hey, did you enjoy the reading, buddy? Seems like you did. Oh, are you comfy? I think you might be. I think he enjoys it. Yeah. You got any questions or anything like that? I gotta think of something to make this last section more enjoyable. You know, when I watch streams or when I watch videos, I actually always enjoy when the people talk about their process or what's going on. So, and I'm like, yeah, I'd like to figure something out that makes the end portion a bit more fun. I was thinking, let me know what you think about this, in every stream, showing you just my favorite new funny video. I love funny videos and all that kind of stuff, so I watch a lot of them over the years. I've saved a lot of them, and just showing one thing that I find really funny. Thinking about doing that, so maybe I'll do that. He is the best. Hi, Dexter. Hi. All right, friends. Do you watch your own videos? At the beginning, I watched, not the whole thing, but because I was doing it on Instagram. In order to read the comments, I had to go through the video. So I heard and, you know, I changed things up, what I noticed. You know, it was like, oh, you know, this doesn't work well for the voice, and so I changed that up. And not anymore. No, I don't need to do that because I see all your chat here. Hey, Nathan asks, hey, John Voth, can you talk about your process? Yeah, I should talk about my process as an actor. No, you could just see it. You're... Yes, we need more laughter. Do you pity Snape a little bit now? Yeah, of course, I do, actually. Gives his character more understanding. He's just licking away. I support that ID, JV. Yes, do it. He's such a teddy. I have a fun stash of video on my PC. Yes, do it. Okay, people are in support of it. So much fun. Thank you, John. Thank you, Nefneet. All right, friends. I hope you have a wonderful evening. I will see you tomorrow. What is today? Today's Thursday. I'll see you tomorrow on Friday for the next round of Conk's Corner. Until then... Oh, and, you know, one thing I was wondering is, where's Cody been at? You know, and I know that Nathan Most asks him that very often too. Where is Cody?
We still gotta find Cody. Oh yeah.